A database is just what the name implies, a base collection of data. The data is organized in some manner so that the information contained within the database can be easily retrieved. Some of the simple databases that you might be familiar with are things like phone books or Rolodexes. As data processing has become more sophisticated, so have methods for collecting, storing, and retrieving information. Databases have become the cornerstone for an overwhelming amount of the computing environment in existence. A database has the following properties. It is a representation of some aspect of the real world or a collection of data elements representing real-world information. A database is logical, coherent, and internally consistent. A database is designed, built, and populated with data for a specific purpose. Each data item is stored in a field. A combination of fields makes up a table. For example, each field in an employee table contains data about an individual employee. A database management system, or DBMS, is a collection of programs that enables users to create and maintain databases and control all access to them. The primary goal of a DBMS is to provide an environment that is both convenient and efficient for users to retrieve and store information. Managing information means taking care of it so that it works for us and is useful for the tasks we perform. By using a DBMS, the information we collect and add to its database is no longer subject to accidental disorganization. It becomes more accessible and integrated with the rest of our work. Managing information using a database allows us to become strategic users of the data we have. We often need to access and resort data for various uses. These may include creating mailing lists, writing management reports, generating lists of selected news stories, identifying various client needs. The processing power of a database allows it to manipulate the data it houses, so it can sort, match, link, aggregate, skip fields, calculate, or arrange. Because of the versatility of databases, we find them powering all sorts of projects. A database can be linked to a website that is capturing registered users, a client tracking application for social service organizations, a medical record system for a healthcare facility, your personal address book in your email client, a collection of word processed documents, or a system that issues airline reservations. There are a number of characteristics that distinguish the database approach from the file-based system or approach. This chapter describes the benefits and features of the database system. A database system is referred to as self-describing because it not only contains the database itself, but also metadata, which defines and describes the data and relationships between tables in the database. This information is used by the DBMS software or database users if needed. This separation of data and information about the data makes a database system totally different from the traditional file-based system in which the data definition is part of the application programs. In the file-based system, the structure of the data files is defined in the application programs, so if a user wants to change the structure of a file, all the programs that access that file might need to be changed as well. On the other hand, in the database approach, the data structure is stored in the system catalog and not in the programs. Therefore, one change is all that is needed to change the structure of a file. This insulation between the programs and data is called program data independence. A database supports multiple views of data. A view is a subset of the database, which is defined and dedicated for particular users of the system. Multiple users in the system might have different views of the system. Each view might contain only the data of interest to a user or a group of users. Current database systems are designed for multiple users. That is, they allow many users to access the same database at the same time. This access is achieved through features called concurrency control strategies. These strategies ensure that the data accessed are always correct and that data integrity is maintained. The design of modern multi-user database systems is a great improvement from those in the past, which restricted usage to one person at a time. In the database approach, ideally each data item is stored in only one place in the database. In some cases, data redundancy still exists to improve system performance, but such redundancy is controlled by application programming and kept to minimum by introducing as little redundancy as possible when designing the database. The integration of all the data for organization within a database system has many advantages. First, it allows for data sharing among employees and others who have access to the system. Second, it gives users the ability to generate more information from a given amount of data than would be possible without the integration. Database management systems must provide the ability to define and enforce certain constraints to ensure that users enter valid information and maintain data integrity. A database constraint is a restriction or rule that dictates what can be entered or edited in a table, such as a postal code using a certain format or adding a valid city in the city field. There are many types of database constraints. Data type, for example, determines the sort of data permitted in a field. For example, numbers only. Data uniqueness, such as the primary key, ensures that no duplicates are entered. Constraints can be simple, like field-based, or complex, like programming. Not all users of a database system will have the same accessing privileges. For example, one user might have read-only access, that is, the ability to read a file but not make changes, while another might have read and write privileges, which is the ability to both read and modify a file. For this reason, a database management system should provide a security subsystem to create and control different types of user accounts and restrict unauthorized access. Another advantage of a database management system is how it allows for data independence. In other words, the system data descriptions or data describing data, metadata, are separated from the application programs. This is possible because changes to the data structure are handled by the database management system and are not embedded in the program itself. A database management system must include concurrency control subsystems. This feature ensures that data remains consistent and valid during transaction processing, even if several users update the same information. By its very nature, a DBMS permits many users to have access to its database, either individually or simultaneously. It is not important for users to be aware of how and where the data they access is stored. Backup and recovery are methods that allow you to protect your data from loss. The database system provides a separate process from that of a network backup for backing up and recovering data. If a hard drive fails and the database stored on the hard drive is not accessible, the only way to recover the database is from a backup. If a computer system fails in the middle of a complex update process, the recovery subsystem is responsible for making sure that the database is restored to its original state. These are two more benefits of a database management system.